I love you, Italianata Brava. I love you, Italianata Brava. There's not a live stream I've entered and not immediately thought, wow, I don't have enough Vaseline on my face. Good afternoon, my precious Brava babies. We have such a treat in store. So we are joined today by a woman who I feel more badass just being in her presence. And her whole thing is badass wellness. Here she is, Alyssa Santos. We're going to invite you intimately in to join for conversation. Oh, yes. Hello, my darling.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you perfectly.
Great.
And I always feel like it's a good sign when I'm like channeling, like we're channeling the energy, like we both have like a similar top on.
I love it. I love that.
So, my darling, I was just letting the people know what we're up to today. So these
Cool.
Brava conversations, Be Brava Lives, it's sort of like an inside experience in like a conversation on coaching with coaches, with
Cool.
people who are having these conversations. It's like a different way of letting each other in on the process, right?
I love that.
So Alyssa Man Santos, which one?
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa Man or Alyssa Man Santos or Santos?
Alyssa Santos for fitness stuff, and then for my acting, I use the name Alyssa Mann, which is my maiden name technically.
Well, I'm a Gemini rising, so I'm all about multiple.
Great.
I'm into it. I'm here for it. So Alyssa Santos, I'm just going to frame this up and then pass the mic.
Sure.
So I met Alyssa Santos. It was 7 years ago in a showcase for actors my very first week in Los Angeles. Yes, she was manic. And as they say, when you're in a highly emotional state, like say you just moved across the country to become famous, you remember things perfectly. And yet, I would never forget this woman that we have here because she told an incredible story of her journey to becoming who she is. And like, the fucking journey. Like, people who throw around the word journey, but you actually do have a story to tell. So I want to pass it over to you. Tell us the story of you becoming what you are now, one of the many things you are, which is a fitness coach. So yeah, passing the mic over.
Totally. So I was actually in the same boat. I had just also moved across the country. I grew up in New Jersey, and
wait, me too.
Sorry, did you? That's
yeah,
okay. Where in Jersey?
Montclair.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I grew up in Howell, Freehold, Central
well, that's
Jersey.
Where you don't really get this, no offense, you don't really get this kind of fierceness from like California born and bred. You know what I mean?
I agree. It's an East Coast thing.
We have a little happening. Okay.
Got a little fire.
Yeah.
For sure. So I grew up East Coast. I grew up very overweight. I was overweight my whole entire life. My first diet, I believe I was 12, I think and I did the cabbage soup diet. I don't know if you've ever done that. Gem.
Horrible.
It's awful. I mean, you eat cabbage soup for like most meals.
It's like Oliver.
Yeah, your stomach is it's huge because all you're ingesting is cabbage. It was awful. But I grew up really overweight. I was overweight, and I went to NYU. I went to performing arts school. I went to performing arts high school and college, and all of my acting teachers, who were lovely and great, were always like, listen, you're super talented, but you're going to have a really tough time in this business being the size that you are. But people tell you that stuff all the time, and it's not like one person telling you that makes you all of a sudden lose weight and now I'm motivated. It's so much deeper and more intense than that.
Yeah.
And so I was overweight through college, and then I graduated, and I ended up having a quarter life crisis and went to massage therapy school.
Wow.
And I was in massage therapy school, and I was desperate for a job. I needed to make money. And a woman I was there with said, oh, you should be a personal trainer because you know so much about the muscles now. Yeah. And I was like, no one's going to hire me as a personal trainer. I'm fat. And she was like, no, it's totally fine. Like it's the knowledge. I don't know whatever happened to this woman. She's amazing. She changed my life. I was like, all right, I fucking need a job. Screw it. Let me just go over there. Yeah. So I went over to the New York Sports Club on 71st and First. And I had a meeting with a manager, and he was like, listen, like you have a huge amount of knowledge. I absolutely will hire you. You are going to have a tough go of this because when people think of a personal trainer, they think of a certain body type, and you're kind of your own advertisement, as it were. Yeah. But I like your personality. You seem to know what you're talking about. So let's do it.
Awesome.
So what was amazing was that it's kind of by this like universal law of attraction, ended up attracting a couple of clients who also really wanted to lose weight. And I was like, okay, I have the knowledge, but like, let's do it together, because I also like clearly am on this path.
Yeah.
So I ended up working with all of them, and we all lost weight together. They're still some of the closest people in my life. When all is said and done, I ended up losing about 75 pounds,
Wow.
which is pretty transformative and cool.
Especially for like women of our height.
Right. Yes. I'm not a 6 foot tall goddess by any stretch.
Yeah.
I wish. But yeah, and it was such an incredible experience because I wasn't doing it alone, which was the thing that ultimately led me to be to really pursue fitness and coaching and go even deeper and start teaching classes and stuff, because it became really clear to me that a getting healthy and getting comfortable in your body is a process. It is not a one. You don't do one thing and you check it off your list. And as women, there's so much emotion behind it. And
Yeah.
a lot of people in the fitness industry have been fit their whole life. And it's not that they're not amazing. I know amazing fitness coaches that have been fit their entire life, but having gone through it just means that I think I get it a little bit in a way that maybe some other coaches have a tougher time finding it. And yeah, and so that was kind of how I ended up in fitness. And then I just kind of grew it from there and started to include teaching, because I wanted to reach more people and I wanted to inspire as many people as I could and connect with people, and just kind of help people.
I mean, what you shared right now, it's just like, I love the phrase, my mess is my mission. And what you shared is such a perfect example of that, because I think there's this idea of like being perfect to attract people from this veneer of perfection. You actually attracted people from the very place that they were at. You work together in community, which is such a beautiful spirit to bring into an area that can feel so threatening to people. You know, like,
Yes.
oh, like my coach is someone who is like, I can never be like them. They've never understood me.
Right.
And then to speak about like the vulnerability that you understand, having walked through that very specific path. When you said, and even the word fat, like when you hear that word fat, like what did that mean? What does that mean? Like, what's your relationship with that word?
Yeah, that's big. It's a loaded word. It's such a loaded word. I actually don't use it at all anymore. I make it actually a policy to not comment on people's bodies ever, whether or not I feel like they've lost weight or gained weight, or if they're lean or if they're not, because I just think that you don't ever know what people's struggle is. And also I'm a big believer in like, in fit at any size. So I don't think you need to be a certain size in order to be really healthy and really fit. I think that it should be how you feel and what's good for your body and your personal world. So I hate the word fat. It like gives me goosebumps even hearing it. It's so like it's such a bad word, quote unquote, in so many ways. And I think it it just has so much I mean, no pun intended, but like weight to it. It's a word that people are so afraid of. Like the word, I mean, for such a long period of time in my life, the worst thing you could have called me is fat. Like ugly's fine, stupid's fine, but fat was like the thing, right? That like fucking got in you.
And it's crazy too, the relationship too, because I've never, like, personally, like, I've never really struggled with weight, and yet I have, because I was dieting in second grade, and I always thought I was fucking fat. I've never actually been medically having a weight issue in any way, and it goes to show how deep it is for especially women. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because our worth is on it, right? So like for so long, our whole self-worth was all about, are you the thinnest and are you the prettiest? And especially like, I was growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s when like skinny, 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 how skinny can you be? Get skinnier. It's like take them off. Yes. Like how leafy could you be? And I'm not a human, even being fit, I'm not a human being who thrives and feels good skinny. That's not how I exist in the world.
Exactly. It's like, do you want me like kind of glazed eyes and like pale skin and like an aberration, or like fully fucking here? And like, I think we're learning too, like, what is sexy to, like, I don't care what you're talking to, sexy is vitality.
and confidence and
Yes.
being comfortable in your skin and being radiant and well fed and glowing, like you said, not vapid, not,
Yeah.
starving. And my therapist actually told me this nugget where she talked about a starving woman is a controllable woman. And we've been taught to like be thinner so that we can be controlled in this really gross, ugly way,
Yeah.
right?
And it's controlled on so many levels because there's a
Mm-hmm.
weakness, but there's also a preoccupation, right? It's
Yes,
like we got shit to do. Like our workout
exactly.
should fuel our lives, not
Right.
like we're obsessing about,
Right.
our bodies all day.
Everything. Like, why is so much of my brain power, like for so long, such a huge part of my day was spent thinking, what am I going to eat? When am I going to work out? Did I eat too much? Have I had too much? Should I stop eating? Right? Like, it's fucking exhausting,
Yeah. And
you
it's also
know?
it makes me like viscerally angry too, the fact that like even from a young age there's such a pressure on particularly females that we appear a way to be like pleasing. Like, oh, like we need the women in our space to like look a way that we just have decided from media indoctrination is a way
Right.
that's pleasing. And so we're gonna shame those people, shame girls until they look that way so that
Yeah.
we feel comfortable with them there.
Yeah. And like and to go back to like attracting clients that look like me, I mean, the clients that I attracted, I think we're so overwhelmed and scared of being at the gym and being judged and even taking a step towards health. Like, fuck losing weight, just
Yeah.
feeling confident and feeling healthy and strong. So
Yes.
many people are so scared to go to a class or to go to the gym or go, because they're afraid of that judgment and they're afraid of like other women and men, but like also really other women, like judging them and making them feel awful about themselves, when it's like, no, man, like this is not what we should be doing. Like, we need to support each other and love each other's differences and help people feel strong and healthy, not look a
Yeah.
certain way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that judgment, like it like, also just to include men in this conversation as well, because I feel like a lot of men actually suffer in silence because it's
Totally.
not, women, like we talk about it.
Right.
It's
Right.
almost like there's like this like secret that men have, like how many men
Right.
are like judging
Yeah.
and feeling. So I want to ask you a question about your personal relationship with that reflection in the mirror. Like, what did what how has that changed over the years? Like when you look in the mirror, what do you look at? What do you feel? What happens now when you look in the mirror?
Yeah. Well, one thing I can tell you for certainty is that losing weight will not make you happy. Like, because I lost weight and I still wasn't happy. Right.
Huge.
So your relationship with your body or my relationship with my body, everybody's relationship with their body is something that is personal and kind of comes from within and not outside, right? So I have found that no one I know can look a certain way and feel a certain, like it starts on the inside, right? So at my heaviest and at my thinnest, I spent a lot of time pulling apart my body. And it's only when I started to do the real emotional work and do the real acceptance work that I started to shift my thinking and start to be really proud of my strength and accepting my body for what I'm going to look like when I feel good and comfortable, right? Which may not be the way that you look, which may not be the way that she looks, but
Yes.
I feel strong and healthy and aware and alive and awake, and finding pride in that and finding goals that aren't necessarily, oh my God, I definitely want to be this size. It's, oh, I want to be able to take a spin class and afterward feel incredible and not feel exhausted, right?
Yes.
And it's respecting my body, it's listening to my body, it's being proud of it. Like one of the greatest quotes that I've heard, it's, you can simultaneously love yourself and still want to change aspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like finding the self-love, listening to where you feel good. So now, I mean, I used to just be annihilating to myself, just even, and it had nothing to do with what I looked like. That's the fucked thing. Like, I just was awful to myself forever.
Yeah.
But it's through a lot of like self work and therapy and being in the fitness community and finding my people and finding my tribe and clients, 100% clients,
Yeah.
inspiring me. Like, do feel for the first time in my life that when I look at myself, I'm like, all right, like I'm proud of my strength
Yeah.
and what I can do with my body. you know?
It's like a deprogramming, because it's like
Yes,
what I was
100%.
hearing, and I was hearing as you were speaking too. There's this like crazy thing that happens where it's like, okay, if any of us was J-Lo, we might be like, I wish I looked like Taylor Swift. Like
Right.
the diversity of
Right.
the vitality and the beauty of people is as vast as like as there are stars in the solar system, you
Yeah,
know? So
totally.
to really be owning like I like for and I love this like just the transparency of like sharing with us that like it's taken this, you know, it's taken your life to get to this point. Like we can look a certain way on the outside and we can sell class packages because like we've got an ass, but like to really fucking feel it. And what is a moment that a client like really shifted or changed your experience?
It's funny. I had a client early on in training who is what society would have deemed as overweight or too big. Let's use that term, like too big.
Yeah.
And I remember her looking at me and being like, I want to get stronger. I want to get healthier, but I love my body and I don't want to lose weight. And I've met with other trainers and all they're trying to do is get me to lose weight. And that's not what I want. And it was probably the first moment that I met someone whose body was not traditionally what people think women should look like.
Yeah.
And she was like looking all that in the face and being like, nope, I feel good like this. This is my body. I don't want to lose weight. I want to feel healthy. I want to feel strong, but I don't want to be thin. I don't want to be like, I don't want to look, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh, that's an option? Like we get to, I can feel good at any size.
I can like
we can
opt
do
out of
this.
this paradigm. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And so that's when I was like, oh, all right, cool. Like I wonder what that feels like. Let's
so
pursue
badass.
that. You know?
It's so badass. It's like so many things right now. We're given this opportunity to just see the structures, see the systems, and be like, you know what? I literally can choose to not play this game today.
Right.
I can just choose to not play it.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk to you about the moment that you looked in the mirror and you're like, okay, I hit my goals. I'm like, you know, thin, or I'm like got the abs and I'm not happy. And what was that moment for you? And how did you reconcile with that realization?
Yeah, that was sad. That's a really sad moment because I spent my whole teens and early 20s desperately wanting to be thin, wishing it on like everything and then not all of a sudden, it took a long time, but all of a sudden I looked in the mirror and I was the size that I was hoping to be. And I was still just an asshole to myself. And sorry, I've lost my train of thought. What was the question?
You're totally speaking to it. I think you're just getting into that feeling, like what that realization was, about what that aha was, just reconciling the fact that like you still weren't happy, like the inside had changed. Yeah.
Well, and then realizing what the work really was, right? So like the work wasn't like getting on the treadmill for longer periods of time, because no matter what size I got to, I wasn't going to be happy. So then it was just, okay, what other work needs to be done so that I can start to be really, really happy. And that's when I started to get into working more intensely with like intuitive eating and listening to my body and feeling proud of myself, and therapy, which I'm a huge advocate of for everyone. I kind of think most people should be in therapy at least at certain points in their life. And starting to be really aware of just self-improvement and listening to podcasts and books and people that inspire me, and starting to learn how to shift the voices in my brain, which is a different work than taking another spin class, which I love, but it's different. It's just different work.
It's a good wisdom to just know, like, it's a good wisdom through experience that, like, you know, the physical and the mental, it's all one, and it's only focused on like an external gain. It's what the people say about everything. Like people say this about, like, you know, you make a lot of money and then you're still wake up, you're still the same problems, just nicer couch, you know. So it's like the internal work it's
real.
Number one,
It is. Oh, it's 100% number one. Totally. And also like what you're consuming and who you're surrounding yourself with, right? So it's so easy to get really bogged down on Instagram, or like find like in fitness, like I had to really be careful what teachers I was taking class
Yeah.
from, what fitness professionals I was going to for advice, because I was like, no longer am I taking class from someone who's like, burn it to earn it. You have to earn your calories. You have to do all this, like, I was like, I'm not.
Especially, yeah. I think this. I was speaking about this last night. So I've been running this media cleanse. So it's like a 5-day free like media cleanse, and so people are coming up against these things, and like we're the humility to realize how malleable our brain is, particularly when we're in that vulnerable place of like giving our power over. Because when you're in a class, you are literally in like almost a trance. Like you're
100%.
following direction, you're listening.
Yep.
And so to be so mindful about, like you said, who you share that and allow that power.
Yes.
What do you feel like your hope is for the fitness, like the fitness community that you are a part of and creating? We both work at Heights. So,
Yeah.
so when you think about like the words that you use in a class, like what do you really want to be helping share inside that when you hold that power?
Yeah. How you feel is the number one. People are very desperate as to like talk about how they look or do this to get rid of that booty. Focusing on strength, focusing on how you feel, focusing on the energy that you have, what your skin feels like just how you feel on the inside.
Yes.
And just getting away from one body type that's acceptable, right? Like, how do you feel and what does your body do? And how, and what is your standard for yourself, right? Like, who cares what anybody else has decided that like, how do you want to look? How do you feel your best? How do you feel excited to get up? And I just want to I want to get so far away from earning your food, which I think is bullshit. And I want to get so far away of fitness being torture, right? Like people force themselves to work out and it bums me out. Like, because when you find that, and like, if you don't like running, don't fucking run.
There's
You can
move. There's a million ways to move, right?
totally. And if walking makes you happy, do that. If spinning makes you happy, do that. But like, find the thing that gives you light and life and makes you feel good, because it shouldn't be torture. And if it's torture, don't do it. If you're not like, happy doing it, don't do it.
Like, find me a child who doesn't like to move.
Right. We want to. Our bodies want to be strong and healthy and in shape, right? They want to take in good nutrients. We want to feel good. We want to be active. It's just we've consumed all of this other shit and we've gotten so obsessed with this stuff that doesn't serve us, that like reshifting the focus of how do I feel? What do I want? Who cares what they say?
And I love it. It's very, it is like the way you're describing it, it is like a therapeutic experience, just to like permission to feel your fucking feelings. Even if it's like 1 hour while you're working out, like you're feeling into yourself, whatever's there is showing up and like it's coming out.
Oh, I mean, we store so much in our bodies too. That's the thing. Like emotions, trauma, like that shit lives in your body. So once you start moving it, that's why fitness can be such an emotional experience. And I've had many clients in yoga classes and in spin classes like get really emotional, whether it be anger or sadness, and they're like, what's it happening? And I'm like, well, of course you store the stuff in your body, like let's move it, feel that shit, and let's go.
Feel like a good hip stretch. I'm like almost
yeah, I've cried in pigeon many a time.
Cried.
Yeah, totally.
So my darling, when you look at the speaking of like the emotional catharsis, and like it's a big thing to show up, right? Like on our best day and our worst day, but like you've got a client, you've got like 20 people who are like, this is the thing that they're tethering their lifeline to, right? Is like this hour where I get to like feel good and move with Alyssa. Maybe like it's a hard day. What's your take on bringing in like your honesty, your vulnerability, your authenticity, and also showing up? And how do you work with those things as a coach?
Yeah, well, what I often will tell people, there's a few things. No one ever says, I wish I hadn't worked out today, right? Like I've never met anybody who's finished a workout and been like, I wish I hadn't done that. You know, I mean, I guess I'm sure, exactly. Right. I mean, I'm sure there's been bad experiences in classes, but like if you've had a good class, 99.9% of the time afterward, you're like, oh, I feel so much better. Yes. So if people don't want to get there, then I'm often like, okay, well, just think about how you're going to feel at the end of this. Think about let's just try to get on the other side of this and know that you are working right now to give your future self a gift. So like the work you're putting through now, future Alyssa is going to feel so fucking badass that like current Alyssa is okay sacrificing for future Alyssa, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, it totally does.
And also, but like, again, listening to your body. So like if you always take a Tuesday morning spin class and you usually love it and you wake up one day and you're like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then let's check in with yourself. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you need to be out in nature? Do you need to go for a hike? Maybe today it's not. Maybe today it's not moving, right? Maybe it's going to have to be moving tomorrow. Or maybe today is just a mile walk, you know? And meeting clients where they are is really important to me.
Yeah.
It's tricky because in the beginning, a lot of people have gotten out of practice a little bit. And so it's hard for them to feel how good it's going to feel. So there's sometimes in the beginning, you kind of have to trudge through the mud to get to the water a little bit.
Yeah.
But being kind to yourself and finding the things that are exciting to you, even if it's normally what you do isn't working for you that day, honoring yourself, honoring your body, and being like, all right, I can't spin today. That sounds like torture, even though I 99% of the time love it. Yeah. But today I think I just need to go for a walk. Great. Then today you should go for a walk.
And you know what I love about that philosophy of like really empowering your clients to like listen better? It's like ultimately, just like you said with like a therapist, like they come in maybe for a certain amount of time. I feel like a beautiful goal as a fitness trainer is like that your clients all live with a fitness trainer. Like they live with someone who's so got the juice on like, what's next? What do I need next? Doesn't mean they don't keep working with you, but like, you know, like they start to develop that like, oh, I actually live with the guru, and like the guru's got like all the best ideas on like what's the next step because I'm just listening to her.
Right. I mean, my clients' bodies are way smarter than me. Mm-hmm. Like you should absolutely listen to your body first and then anybody else second. No, I mean, how many times have like things happened in a class? It's happened to me as a fitness instructor because I'm trying to be a good student. I take a class, someone suggests doing something. My body's like, don't fucking do it. And I'm just do it anyway. And then it feels like crap. And then I'm like, wait, Alyssa, girl, you know better than that.
Yeah, the peer pressure. And that's why I always say like as a yoga instructor, I'm like, you know, honestly, like I'm a guide. I'm inviting you into how I like to practice.
Right.
But if your body doesn't like to practice like that, like,
something else.
I will never take it personally, you know?
Right.
All right, my darling. So then I with this idea of like this transformation, like it started out probably more feeling like it was going to be this physical transformation and then reconciling and realizing how much of the internal shifts. What's a big shift that happened for you on the inside that really, really changed who you are?
I think discovering that I love working out was like a big thing, you know, because I always thought that it was something I had to do. Well, you're fat, so you have to go to the gym and let's get on the elliptical for 45 minutes and do it, you know, and like discovering that I actually do love to move. And that happened when I figured out what it is that I love to do. Like when I discovered that I didn't have to be a runner to be in shape.
Oh, you froze. Oh no, froze.
Sorry, I thought I went away. My hair? In my hair? Okay, good. Sorry. But the biggest, when I discovered that I didn't have to do a certain thing to be in shape, that I could find what I love to do, and that was just as good, if not better, that was a huge shift because then I got curious, right? So I was like, all right, I don't like running. I know that, right? So I don't know. Well, I like spinning. Let's try it. Oh, I love spinning. Cool. What else would I like? Do I want to do Pilates? Okay, that's not bad. Maybe not for, you know, and so you start to like get curious and get excited. And then also feeling stronger, like starting to cultivate and love strength over starving and, you know, punishment.
Like, cool shit. Right. I was like, you know, I did a fitness challenge at a gym, Pharaoh's.
Yeah, I love Pharaoh's.
I know, I love Pharaoh's too. And yeah, we had to like, you know, set goals. And I remember the first time I did it twice. The first time I did it, I was like, okay, it's my Brava tour. I want like brandy arms. I want like it was all that stuff. And the second time I was like, I just want to be able to do cool shit with my body. You know, like, and it is exciting when you get to that point where you're like, you know, I want the feel. I want to feel like I can do cool shit. And it's also so empowering too to like know and see like women as they and men, but like as a woman, like just to see older people who've been able to maintain a healthy relationship with fitness, so they haven't like abused their body and their body is working well out into their golden years.
Yeah, totally. And most likely because they figured out what they love and they listen to their body. The days they can't do it, they don't, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, for sure. That's always exciting.
Okay, so I'm such a romantic. I'm on
Love
Netflix.
it.
Okay, I have a huge thing for the Silver Lake people. I joined next door, and
Oh,
I posted looking for a boyfriend.
okay.
As my altar. It's the top trending post in Silver Lake.
Okay, I love that.
I've got multiple dates booked. I'm being called the Bachelorette, the Silver Lake Bachelorette. That's my. I've got a makeup artist in like a local makeup artist. Everything's happening. I'm like cast in the dream show.
I love it.
So because that's like my altar's life, but also mine. Of that romance. I want to hear just before we close and everyone goes off to the rest of their day. I would love to hear a little bit about your love story. So,
sure.
how did when in your trajectory did you meet the person you're with, and what do you think about where you were attracted that particular person to you?
Oh, fun. Okay. Yeah. So I met my husband. It'll be 10 years in February. I was in a movie that was doing, it was opening at several theaters throughout the country, and I was promoting it. And I was in Massachusetts, in Foxborough, Massachusetts, promoting this film. And his friend had done the Foley sound. I don't know if you know, Foley sound is like the sound of like zippers or like foot crunching on snow. Like there's a whole world of Foley artists. It's crazy. They use like potato chips and it sounds like people walking on snow. It's crazy. So he was there to support his friend. And my husband's very tall. He's 6'5". So he's hard to miss. And I remember I was coming down a set of stairs and I looked over and I saw him and I was like, well, that's a handsome fella. And he happened to be talking to the director, I think, because he knew this Foley artist. Yeah. So I like sauntered on up and introduced myself, and to speak to how I would not have done that if I had not been doing the work that I had been doing in terms of being comfortable in my own skin and feeling positive and feeling good about myself, because I felt good enough to walk up and be like, oh, hey. And like I introduced myself and then we started chatting. And I was living in New York at the time. So we had a long distance relationship for a year and a half. And then we moved out to Los Angeles together like 7.5 years ago. And we got married in 2016.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I love this. It's like, and this is something I feel from you is like, there is this power and this strength, and it's hard even for me to imagine that wasn't always there. So when you were a little girl, do you think it was there? Or do you feel like you've come back to yourself, or do you feel like a new version of you was born? Like, what's the relationship with that strength?
Yeah. I think everybody has it. I think it's always in all of us. I think we all have a strength. It may look different in different people, but I think everybody has it. And unfortunately, it's beaten out of us just by media and the fucked up shit our parents had that passed on to us, and the fucked up shit that kids in our lives that had their own stuff that they were dealing with put on us. So it's there. So I don't think I'm anyone different. I think I had to find my way back to listening to me and respecting myself and that love, which is what made me strong. You know, I think everybody's got it. Everybody.
And I hear you so hard. I feel like the closer, like, it's such an interesting thing being a human. We talk about it all day. Literally what I do. It's hard being human. Yeah. But like the fact that we come in with such specificity, like we're like so raw in our essence. Like when we first arrive on the scene, like 4 years old, I feel like people are just like so fully themselves. Totally. And they spend a whole life learning how not to be that person, going to schools that strip that away from them. And then it's like coming back to it. I feel like the closer as an adult you are to the child you were at 4, the more you're on your fucking path.
Oh, 100%. Because here's the thing. 4-year-olds aren't sitting around wondering what other people think of them, right? They are doing exactly what they want, when they want, and they're listening to themselves, and they're like, oh, you know what would feel good right now? Running into that mud puddle, and then they
Yes,
get, you know, like,
yes, yes.
but that's
They know
why they're
what they
so
like.
inspiring, right?
Yeah,
Because they're themselves, right?
1000%. And when we look at the diversity of children, it's like everyone should be that diverse. We should all be
Oh,
that diverse, wearing weird outfits and,
totally.
staring at leaves. Like, this is,
Yes. It's amazing. Why is everybody
yeah.
trying to be the same person?
Yes, I
You
know.
know?
I know, I love it. My nephew's celebrating Halloween like every day now because
Well, I
it's like,
love it.
quarantine. So there's
Sure.
like a different costume like every day.
Great.
I love
Yeah. And how fun is that? And like, I can guarantee that everybody who sees him is like, cool, dude.
it. Yeah.
You do you, you
Yeah.
know? No one's like,
Yeah.
ew. You
Yeah.
know?
I
Do
love
it.
it. I love it. All right, my
Yeah.
darling. So before you close, as we move forward, I just want you to just like take your little soapbox moment for anybody who is maybe in a place where they're not feeling so empowered in their physical form, in their
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Is there any like message that you want to give to that person? And maybe it's like to the person who's where you were when you started off and you were trying to get, trying to find your physical strength and all that.
Yeah. I highly encourage them to start small, to listen to their bodies, to find the thing that makes them excited, and to find the ways that they love to move. To try, I mean, it's so easy to get overwhelmed and be like, oh, I could never get there to that point. Don't worry about that, right? You don't have to think 3, 4, 5 years in the future. What can I do today that's going to make me feel better tomorrow? How can I listen to my body? How can I respect my body? And what do I need to do for myself right now that will make future me really excited? One step at a time. You don't have to take it all at once. Just take it one step at a time in and move toward the thing that's going to make you feel really good, and then worry about all the other stuff as you go.
I love it. It
Yeah.
just makes me, as you were speaking, I was like, music, that's for me. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
that's for me what gets me moving. It's
Totally.
music and like, yeah, okay, I love that. So, how can we get obsessed with you? How can people come take your classes? All the
Yeah.
things. Let us know all the things.
I love it. So I teach at Hype with you. I teach Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I teach spin and hit, which is really fun. I also have a class virtually that I teach at noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My website is badasswellness.com. So all of my information's up on there. I'm just about to update it. I'm going to put my updated schedule. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I am posting about all my classes and all the stuff that I do. And that's Alyssa Man Santos.
I love it. Thank you so much
Yay.
for joining.
Thank you for having
And
me.
thanks for all who dropped in. And
Yeah.
always be Brava.
Love it.
Bye.